The massive Zellner command ship hung in space like a giant metal spider. Its dark hull gleamed against the stars. Inside, on the wide bridge, Grand Admiral Drelther stood tall on his four back legs. His other four limbs moved quickly over the control panels. He was the highest-ranking officer in the Zellner Armada, and today he was confused. "Show me again," he ordered, his voice deep and rumbling. The main screen lit up, showed a single human ship moving slowly through space. Just one ship, small and dark, against the vast emptiness. "This can't be right," Drelther said. All 64 of his small black eyes blinked in a wave across his face. "Check again." The sensor officer, a smaller Zellner with blue-tinted armor, tapped rapidly on the glowing panels. "I have checked 3 times, Supreme Commander. The humans have sent only one ship." Drelther's mouthparts clicked together in frustration. "One ship? Against our blockade of 200 warships? This must be a trick." Heron stood quietly near the wall of the bridge. She was the only human on the ship, a diplomat sent to the Zellner High Command 6 months ago. She wore a simple gray suit, her black hair pulled back neatly. Her face showed nothing, but she watched everything. Drelther turned his massive body toward her. "Human," he said, "explain this to me. Your people know we have surrounded Titan Colony with our best ships, told them to surrender the mining. Rights or face destruction. Why do they send just one ship?" Orin stepped forward. The Zellner crew watched her. To them, she looked small, soft, and weak, but something in her calm eyes made them uneasy. "The ship is called the Dauntless," she said simply. "I did not ask its name," Drelther said. "I asked why your leaders would respond to our show of force with a single vessel." Hurin looked at the screen. The human ship was getting closer. It was sleek and dark, with no visible weapons. It looked almost peaceful. "Supreme Commander," called out the communications officer. "The human ship is sending a message." "Show me," ordered Drelther. The screen changed to show the inside of the human ship. A man in a dark uniform sat in the captain's chair. He had a serious face and steady eyes. "This is Captain Jinha of the Earth ship Dauntless," the man said. "We are here to discuss the removal of your blockade from Titan Colony." Drelther's body shook with what humans would recognize as laughter. "Discuss? You bring one ship to discuss with my fleet of 200? Are all humans this foolish?" Captain Jinha didn't smile. "We hoped one ship would be enough to show our peaceful intentions. We don't want war, Admiral Drelther." "Then what?" "Surrender Titan's mining rights," Drelther said. "Your colony sits on the richest deposit of quantum crystals in this sector.
Ow.
The Zellner Empire needs these resources." "The colony has been there for 50 years, Jinha replied. "Those are our people, our homes, our resources." Drelther moved closer to the screen. "Then you should have sent more ships." The human captain looked straight at Drelther. "We sent exactly what was needed." The screen went dark. Drelther turned. To his weapons officer, "Target that ship. Show them what happens when they insult the Zellner Empire." "Wait," Hurin said, her voice cutting through the bridge noise. The Admiral turned to her, his mouth parts clicking angrily. "You dare to give me orders on my own ship?" "Not orders," Hurin said calmly. "A warning. You don't understand what you're facing. A single human ship." Drelther laughed again, his exoskeleton rattling. "Our smallest destroyer could crush it." Hurin walked to the main viewing window. From here, she could see some of the Zellner fleet. Their ships were huge, heavily armored, and built like living things with segments and spikes. They surrounded the small human ship like wolves around a rabbit. "Tell me, Admiral," she said quietly. "Has the Zellner Empire ever fought humans before?" "No," Drelther admitted. "Your species is new to this sector of space. But we have conquered 37 worlds and 100 species. None could stand against us." Heron nodded. "Then you don't know." "Know what?" the Admiral demanded. "Throughout human history, we have faced impossible odds. We have fought when we should have lost, have survived when we should have died." She turned to look at him. "And we have won when we should have been defeated." The sensor officer suddenly called out, "Supreme Commander, human ship is doing something strange. It's changing." All eyes turned to the screen. The Dauntless now glowed with a soft blue light. Small objects were separating from its hull. "What are those?" Drelthor asked, leaning forward. "Unknown," the sensor officer replied. "Too small to identify." Haren smiled slightly. "You asked why we sent just one ship, Admiral." "You're about to find out." Alarms suddenly blared across the bridge. Red lights flashed from every console. "What's happening?" Drelthor roared. "Our systems are being accessed," the communications officer shouted. "Something is interfacing with our computers." "Impossible." Drelthor slammed his limb on the console. "Our shields are at maximum." Haren watched as panic spread across the bridge. The mighty Zellner, who had never known defeat, were about to learn something new. "The Dauntless isn't just a ship," she said, though no one was listening now. "A carrier, a delivery system." On the screen, the small objects from the human ship had reached the nearest Zellner vessels. They attached to the hulls like tiny stars. "You see," Admiral Haren continued, as Drelthor frantically tried to regain control of his ship. "Humans learned long ago that it's not the size of your force that matters. It's how you use it." The lights on the bridge flickered. The mighty Zellner command ship, the pride of their armada, went completely silent. Only the emergency lights remained. Drelthor turned to Haren, his many eyes wide with something humans would recognize as fear. "What have you done?" he whispered. Haren looked at the frozen screen, where the Dauntless still floated, peaceful and alone among the now powerless Zellner fleet. "We sent one ship," she said simply. "One was all we needed." 3 days before the Zellner confrontation, Earth was in panic. The message from the Zellner Empire had reached Earth Central Command just hours ago. The aliens had surrounded Titan Colony with 200 warships. They demanded that humans give up the colony and its rich mining fields, or they would attack in 72 hours. In the main meeting room of Earth Defense Headquarters, 20 men and women sat around a large round table. They were the leaders who would decide how to respond. Maps and data filled the big screens on the walls. Admiral Jinha stood at the front of the room. His uniform was wrinkled. He had not slept in 36 hours, not since the Zellner threat had come in. "The Zellner blockade is complete," Jinha said, pointing to the screen. The display showed Titan Colony surrounded by red dots. Each dot was an enemy warship. They have us outnumbered and outgunned. Defense Minister Quan, an older man with gray hair and serious eyes, leaned forward. "How many ships can we send in time?" "We have 35 warships within range," Jin replied, "but they would take at least 4 days to reach Titan. The Zellner gave us only 3. "So we cannot fight," said a woman with a sharp voice. "We must give up the colony." "No." Jinha's voice was firm. "We will not abandon our people." "Then what do you suggest, Admiral?" asked Quan. "We cannot match their numbers." Jinha took a deep breath. "I suggest we send one ship." The room fell silent. Then everyone started talking at once. "One ship against 200? This is madness. We would be sending our people to die." Quan raised his hand, and the room quieted. "Explain yourself, Admiral." Jinha touched a control, and the screen changed. It showed a sleek, dark ship with no visible weapons. "The Dauntless," he said. "Our newest vessel carries our most advanced technology." "One ship cannot defeat 200, someone objected. "It doesn't need to defeat them," Jinha said. "It only needs to stop them." He touched another control. The screen showed tiny objects no bigger than grains of rice. "These are adaptive micro-units, or AMUS," Jinha explained. "Each one contains advanced AI and can change its function as needed. They can attach to enemy ships, break through shields, and take control of systems." "Like a virus," Quan said quietly. Jinha nodded. "The Dauntless carries 10,000 of these units. Once released, they can make more of themselves using materials from the enemy ships. Than ours, we could have millions. They can disable." "The Zellner fleet?" asked Quan. "They can do more than that," Jinha said. "They can take control of it." The room was silent again, but this time with wonder instead of shock. "Why not send more ships?" asked the sharp-voiced woman. For backup, Jinha shook his head. The AMU technology is still new. We have only equipped one ship, and ... He paused. If we fail, we cannot risk losing more ships. Earth would be defenseless. Quan studied the Admiral's face. There's another reason, isn't there? Ginha looked around the room. The Zellner don't know humans. They don't know how we think, how we fight. Sending one ship will confuse them. They will think we are weak or foolish. This gives us an advantage. Or they'll just blow up our one ship immediately, someone muttered. They won't, Jinha said confidently. The Zellner are curious by nature. Our diplomat on their command ship, Harin, has confirmed this. They will want to understand why we sent just one ship before they destroy it. That hesitation gives us the time we need. Quan stood up slowly. He walked to the window and looked out at the busy spaceport below. Ships of all sizes moved through the air, carrying people and goods. 50 years ago, humans had barely reached Mars. Now they had colonies across the solar system. Throughout our history, Quan said, humans have faced enemies who were stronger, faster, or more numerous. And yet we survived. We adapted. We overcame. He turned back to the room. Not because we had the biggest ships or the most powerful weapons, but because we thought differently. He looked at Jinha. The Admiral's plan is risky, but it is also uniquely human. We use our minds when our muscles are not enough. He returned to his seat. I vote to approve sending the Dauntless. One by one, the others voted. Some quickly, some after hard thought. In the end, all 20 agreed. It's decided then, Quan said. We send one ship. After the meeting, Jinha walked with Quan down the long hallway. Who will captain the Dauntless? Quan asked. I will, Jinha replied. Quan stopped walking. You, but you're an admiral. Your place is here, coordinating our defenses. Jinha looked at his old friend. If this fails, there won't be much left to coordinate. And I won't send anyone on a mission this dangerous if I'm not willing to go myself. Quan nodded slowly. I understand. He put his hand on Jinha's shoulder. What made you think of this plan? Ginha smiled slightly. I was reading an old book from Earth's history about a small group of soldiers who held off a much larger army at a narrow pass. Thermopylae, Quan said. The 300 Spartans. Yes. Jinha replied. But we have improved on the strategy. We only need one ship. Quan laughed softly. The Zellner have no idea what they're facing, do they? No, Jinha said. They think they're fighting a war for resources. They don't understand that they're fighting humanity itself. 2 hours later, the Dauntless was ready. The crew had been carefully selected, all volunteers, all the best in their fields. They knew the danger. They also knew what was at stake. As Ginha took his place in the captain's chair, he looked around at his crew. Humans had always been at their best when facing impossible odds. It was as if something deep inside them came alive when survival seemed least likely. Captain, all systems are ready, reported his first officer. Ginha nodded. Then let's go show the Zellner why humans never give up. The Dauntless lifted off smoothly. One ship against 200. One chance to save Titan colony. One was all they needed. The Dauntless moved through empty space, its dark hull hard to see against the blackness. Inside, the ship was quiet. The 20 crew members worked at their stations, each focused on their tasks. Captain Jinha sat in his command chair at the center of the bridge. His face was calm, but his eyes watched everything. They were now just 6 hours from the Zellner blockade. Status report, Jinha said. His first officer, a tall man named Taejun, turned from his screen. All systems running perfectly, Captain. The AMOs are ready for release. Engine power at 90%, shields at maximum. Jinha nodded. The Zellner. They haven't moved, sir, said the woman at the sensor station. All 200 ships still surround Titan colony. They've seen us, but they're just watching. They're confused. Ginha said with a small smile. Good. Confusion leads to mistakes. Taejun looked worried. Sir, what if they just destroy us as soon as we get close? They have enough firepower to turn us into dust. They won't, Ginha said firmly. The Zelner are proud. They believe they're better than humans in every way. They'll want to talk first. To show their power, they'll want us to beg. We won't beg, said Taejen. No, Ginha agreed. We won't. He stood up and walked to the main window. In the distance, tiny lights marked the Zelner ships. 200 warships, each one bigger and more powerful than the Dauntless. The odds were impossible. Jinha smiled. Humans have always done best when facing impossible odds, he said quietly. It's in our blood. Throughout history, small groups of determined humans have defeated much larger forces. Like David and Goliath, said Tae-Jun. Jinha nodded. The Zelner thinks size and numbers win battles. They don't understand that will and cleverness matter more. Captain called the communications officer. We're getting a message from the Zelner command ship. On screen, Jinha ordered. The main screen lit up. Grand Admiral Drilthur, S. Alien face filled the display. His 64 eyes blinked in different patterns. His mouth parts clicked together as he spoke. Human vessel, the alien said. You enter restricted space. Identify yourself and state your purpose. Jinha stood straight. This is Captain Jinha of the Earth ship Dauntless. We are here to discuss the removal of your blockade from Titan Colony. The alien's body shook in what might have been laughter. Discuss. You bring one ship to discuss with my fleet of 200? Are all humans this foolish? Jinha didn't smile. We hoped one ship would be enough to show our peaceful intentions. We don't want war, Admiral Drelther. Then surrender Titan's mining rights, Drelther said. Your colony sits on the richest deposit of quantum crystals in this sector. Zelner Empire needs these resources. The colony has been there for 50 years, Jinha replied. Those are our people, our homes, our resources. Drelthor moved closer to the screen. Then you should have sent more ships. Jinha looked straight at the alien. He sent exactly what was needed. He cut the transmission. That went well, Taejin, said dryly. Jinha returned to his chair. It went exactly as expected. Now they'll watch us trying to figure out what we're planning. He turned to his weapons officer. Begin AMU deployment. It's Pattern Alpha. Yes, sir. Beneath the ship, small panels opened. Thousands of tiny objects drifted out, each no bigger than a grain of rice. They looked harmless, like specks of dust, in the vastness of space. AMUs deployed, reported the weapons officer. They're spreading out as planned. Now we wait, Jinha said. The AMUs moved slowly away from the Dauntless, spreading out in all directions. They were too small for the Zelner sensors to detect. Each one contained advanced AI in a tiny package. They could attach to ship hulls, slip through shield gaps, and enter systems. Once inside, they could build more of themselves using materials. From the ships they invaded, 3 hours passed. The Dauntless continued its slow approach to the Zelner fleet. The enemy ships remained in position, weapons ready but not firing. They were still trying to understand why we came with just one ship, Jinha said. Their pride won't let them just destroy us without knowing. MU status? He asked. The weapons officer checked her screen. Phase 1 complete, sir? The first wave has reached the outer ships of the Zelner fleet. They've attached to the hulls and begun infiltration. How long until they take control?
About 30 minutes for the first ships.
The AMS are replicating fast? We now have approximately 50,000 units in the field. Jinha nodded. Good. Begin Phase 2. The Dauntless increased speed, heading directly toward the center of the Zelner fleet. This was the most dangerous part of the plan. They had to get close enough for the second wave of AMUs to reach the command ship quickly. The Zelnar are powering up weapons, reported the sensor officer, her voice tense. Hold course, Jinha ordered. Shields at maximum. The space ahead lit up as several Zelner ships fired warning shots. Bright energy beams passed close to the Dauntless but didn't hit it. They're trying to scare us, Jinha said calmly. Keep going. Go. The communications officer called out, incoming transmission from the Zelner command ship. On screen, Jinha said. Admiral Drelthor appeared again. He looked angry now. Human ship, stop your approach immediately, or we will destroy you. We came to talk, Admiral Jinha replied. Are you afraid of one small ship? The alien's mouth parts clicked rapidly. Your insults will not save you. This is your final warning. You fire? Jinha said. You might want to check on your outer ships. I believe they're having ... technical problems. Confusion crossed the alien's face. He turned away from the screen, speaking quickly to someone off camera. When he turned back, his many eyes were wide with surprise. What have you done? He demanded. Jinha smiled slightly. We sent one ship, Admiral. One was all we needed. The screen went dark as the Zellner cut the transmission. Sir, the sensor officer called out excitedly. We're detecting power fluctuations in 12 Zellner ships. Their weapons are powering down. It's working, Taejun said with wonder in his voice. The Ammas are taking control. Jinha nodded. Release the second wave. Target the command ship. More tiny specks drifted from the Dauntless, heading toward the center of the Zellner fleet, where the massive command ship floated. The Ammas moved faster now, propelled by tiny engines. Sir, the Zellner are firing, shouted the sensor officer. 3 energy beams shot toward the Dauntless. The ship shook as they hit the shields. Shield status, Jinha demanded. Holding at 70%, replied Taejun. But we can't take many more hits like that. Jinha gripped the arms of his chair. We don't need to. We just need a few more minutes. On his screen, he could see the status of the AMUs. The tiny machines were spreading through the Zellner fleet like a virus. Ship after ship was showing signs of infiltration. Power systems flickered. Weapons went offline. Keep us moving, Jinha ordered. Head straight for the command ship. The Dauntless pressed forward, a single small ship diving into the heart of the enemy fleet. 1 ship against 200. One chance to save Titan Colony 1 was all they needed. Chaos spread through the Zellner command ship. Alarms blared. Red lights flashed. Crew members ran from station to station, trying to understand what was happening. Admiral Drelther stomped across the bridge on his 4 back legs. His front limbs moved wildly as he shouted orders. Fix the weapons. Restore communications. Tell me what is happening to my fleet. On the main screen, the small human ship continued to approach. Behind it, 12 Zellner ships drifted, their lights dim, their weapons silent. Supreme Commander, called the sensor officer. More ships are losing power. We've lost contact with 23 vessels now. Impossible, roared Drelther. What weapon could do this? Heren stood quietly near the wall. She watched as the mighty Zellner, who had never known defeat, faced something they couldn't understand. She caught the eye of a junior officer who was looking at her with suspicion. The human knows something, the officer said, pointing at Harin. She is not surprised by any of this. Drelther turned all 64 eyes toward her. Explain what is happening, he demanded. What has your 1 ship done to my fleet? Harin stepped forward. You asked earlier why we sent just 1 ship, she said calmly. The answer is simple.
One was all we needed.
Speak clearly? Drelthor's voice boomed. Across the bridge. Humans have always been good at solving big problems with small solutions, Heren explained. Your ships are being taken over by adaptive micro-units, tiny machines that can think for themselves. The bridge fell silent. That's not possible, said the Zellner science officer. No one has that technology. Humans do, Heren replied. We developed it because we had to. We're not the strongest species or the most numerous, but we are very, very good at adapting. On the screens around the bridge, more Zellner ships went dark. The count was now at 35. Even if what you say is true, Drelther said, his voice lower now. Could not have brought enough of these machines to take over 200 ships. Heren smiled slightly. We didn't have to. The AMS can make more of themselves using materials from your own ships. By now, there are likely millions of them throughout your fleet. A new alarm sounded. This one higher and more urgent. Supreme Commander, cried the security officer, something is in our systems. Our shields are failing. Drelther's body went rigid. How? Our shields block everything. Not everything, Heron said. The AMUs are very small. They find tiny gaps in shield coverage, gaps too small to matter normally. But the AMs only need a space the width of a human hair to get through. Outside the command ship, the Dauntless had stopped moving. It hovered in space, a small dark shape among the giant Zellner vessels. From its hull, thousands more tiny. Specks drifted toward the command ship. Inside the Dauntless, Jinha watched his screens with intense focus. The plan was working, but they weren't safe yet. AMU status? He asked. 52 Zellner ships now under our control, reported his weapons officer. The command ship's shields are weakening. Our second wave is getting through. Ginha nodded. And our shields? Holding at 40%, Tajin replied. But 3 more Zellner ships are moving to attack position. They won't fire, Ginha said confidently. Not now, as if to prove him wrong. Energy beams shot from the 3 Zellner ships. They streaked through space toward the Dauntless. The last second, the beams curved away, missing the human ship completely. What happened? Said Tajan, surprised. Gina smiled. The ships that were already infected have taken control of the targeting systems on those vessels. They're protecting us now. On the Zellner command ship, Drelther watched in horror as his own ships turned against each other. Beams meant for the human vessel hit other Zellner ships instead. Stop firing, he ordered. All ships, stop firing. But many ships no longer responded to his commands. The bridge of the command ship grew darker as systems began to fail. Supreme Commander, said the science officer, I'm detecting small objects throughout our ship. They're in the walls, the floors, the air systems, ... Double quotes, his voice trailed off. The Emmas, Haran said. They're everywhere now. The main screen flickered and changed. Captain Jinha's face appeared. Admiral Drelther, the human captain said, your fleet is now under our control. 68 of your ships have been completely taken over. The rest will follow within the hour. Drelther's mouth parts clicked in anger. You tricked us. You made us think you were weak. No, Jinha replied. We simply used what we had. 1 ship. 1 chance. It was enough. What do you want? Asked Drelther, his voice now lacking its earlier confidence. The same thing we wanted when we arrived, Jinha said. Remove your blockade from Titan Colony. Leave this system. And tell your leaders that humans are not to be threatened. The lights on the Zelnar bridge dimmed further. Control panels shut down one by one. The mighty command ship, pride of the Zellner fleet, was being taken over from the inside. You could destroy us all, Drelther said quietly. Why don't you? Jinha's face remained serious. Because humans don't want war, Admiral. We never did. We just want to be left alone. Haren stepped closer to the screen. The Zellner have never faced defeat before, she said to Jinha. They don't understand mercy. And this will be a valuable lesson, Jinha replied. Admiral Drelther, we will allow you to keep control of your command ship. You will order your fleet to leave this system. The MUs will make sure your orders are followed. Drelther's many eyes blinked rapidly. And if I refuse, then we take control of your ship too, Jinha said simply, when you go home in a small escape pod instead of your command ship. The choice is yours. The bridge was silent. All the Zellner looked at their admiral, waiting for his decision. Drelther's body seemed to shrink, his proud posture fading. Very well, he said at last. We will leave. Jinha nodded. A wise choice. Harin will stay on your ship to make sure the withdrawal goes smoothly. The screen went dark. Drelther turned to Harin. Your people are either very brave or very foolish, he said. To risk everything on one ship, on one plan that might have failed. Harin looked at the alien admiral. That's what you don't understand about humans, she said. Throughout our history, we've faced extinction many times. We've learned to take risks, to try the impossible, because sometimes that's the only option. She walked to the window and looked out at the Dauntless, small but undefeated among the giant Zellner ships. 1 ship was all we needed, she said quietly, because humans have never been defined by our numbers, but by what's inside us. Our will to survive, to protect our own, to face impossible odds and win. Drelther joined her at the window. I begin to see why the Zellner Empire should be careful with humans, he said. You're unpredictable. Yes, Haran agreed. That's what makes us human. 1 year had passed since the day a single human ship faced 200 Zellner warships. The story had spread across the galaxy. Many alien species could not believe it. Some thought it was just a made-up tale. But the Zellner knew the truth. On Titan Colony, the largest dome had been expanded to include a new building, the Human Zellner Peace Center. Inside, representatives from both species worked together. They were trying to build something that had seemed impossible 1 year ago. Friendship. Quan walked slowly through the main hall of the center. His old joints hurt a bit, but he smiled anyway. He had been chosen to lead the peace efforts because of his calm wisdom. Today was a special day. For the first time, a high-ranking Zellner official would visit Titan Colony, not as an enemy, but as a guest. "Are you ready?" asked Jinha, who walked beside him. The former captain had been given a new role after his successful mission. He was now Earth's ambassador to the Zellnor. "As ready as I'll ever be," Quan replied. "It's not every day you welcome someone who once tried to destroy your home." They reached the main entrance just as the Zellner shuttle landed outside. The doors opened and Grand Admiral Drelther entered. He moved on his 4 back legs, his 4 front limbs held carefully at his sides. He wore ceremonial armor that gleamed in the bright lights of the hall. "Welcome to Titan Colony, Admiral," Quan said with a small bow. Drelther's mouth parts clicked softly. "Thank you for inviting me," he said. His many eyes looked around the hall with open curiosity. Haran appeared from a side door, now served. As the chief translator between humans and Zellner, "The tour will begin in the main exhibition hall," she said. "We've prepared displays about both our cultures." They walked together through the Peace Center. Humans and Zellner worked side by side. In one room, scientists from both species studied samples of Titan special crystals. In another, children from the colony watched a Zellner teacher demonstrate their writing system. "Never thought I would see this," Drelther said quietly to Jinha. 1 year ago, I wanted to destroy this place." Jinha nodded. "And now?" "Now, I am glad I failed," the Admiral admitted. They reached a large window that looked out over Titan's landscape. In the distance, mining machines worked carefully, collecting the valuable crystals that both species now shared. "I have been thinking about that day for a long time," Drelther said. "About your 1 ship against our 200. About those tiny machines that defeated us without destroying us." "The AMS," Jinha said. "Yes, at first I thought it was just clever technology. But I have come to understand it was more than that." Drelthor turned to face the humans. "It was how you think that defeated us," Quan smiled. "What do you mean, Admiral?" "The Zellner have always believed that more is better. More ships, more weapons, more soldiers. We thought numbers meant victory." Drelthor's many eyes blinked slowly. "But you humans, you think differently. You look at problems and see solutions that no one else would imagine." They continued walking and entered a large round room. In the center stood a small model of the Dauntless. "We created this display to honor the ship and crew that saved Titan Colony," Haran explained. Drelther moved closer to the model. "So small," he said, almost to himself. "Just 1 ship." Admiral Jinha said, "I've been curious. Why did you not destroy us when we first appeared? You had the power to blast us out of space before we could deploy the AMUs?" Drelthor's body shifted in what humans now recognized as discomfort. "Pride," he admitted. "I wanted to understand why humans would send just 1 ship. It seemed so foolish that I thought there must be some trick. I waited too long to find out." "Curiosity saved lives that day," Quan said. "Both human and Zellner." They moved to a quieter corner of the room where seats had been arranged for their meeting. As they sat down, a human child ran into the room chasing a small ball. Behind her came a young Zellner, its smaller body moving quickly on 6 developing legs. "Careful, Mina," called a woman after the human child. The children stopped, suddenly aware of the important people watching them. "Sorry," the little girl said. She looked at Drelthor with wide eyes. "You the Admiral from the story? The one whose ships got taken over by the tiny robots?" "Mina," her mother said, embarrassed. "That's not polite." But Drelther made a sound that the humans now knew was laughter. "Yes, little one, I am that Admiral." The girl nodded seriously. My teacher said you were very brave to admit you were wrong and make peace instead of fighting more. Drelther looked surprised. Your teacher called me brave? Yes, the girl said. She said sometimes it takes more courage to make peace than to make war. The young Zellner clicked its small mouth parts in agreement. Then both children grabbed the ball and ran out of the room. Drelther watched them go. When I returned to the Zellner homeworld after our defeat, he said quietly, many wanted me punished. They said I should have fought to the death rather than retreat. What changed their minds? Asked Jinha. I showed them the data about your AMOs, how they could have destroyed our ships but didn't. How you chose mercy when you had victory. Drelther's eyes fixed on Jin. I told them that any species that can build such technology, but chooses not to use it for destruction, must be worth knowing better. Quan nodded. Humans have learned hard lessons about power and destruction. Our history is full of wars. Destroyed ourselves more than once. Perhaps that is why you are different, Drelther said. The Zellner have always won our wars. We never learned the wisdom that can come from loss. Harin smiled. Until you met humans. Yes, agreed Drelther. Until one human ship showed us that we had much to learn. They spent the rest of the day discussing trade agreements and cultural exchanges. Plans were made for Zellner scientists to study at Earth universities and for human engineers to visit Zellner shipyards. As the day ended and Drelthor prepared to return to his ship, he paused at the entrance to the Peace Center. There is one question I still have, he said to Jinha. If the AMS had not worked, if your plan had failed, what would you have done? Jinha looked the Admiral in his many eyes. We would have found another way. Humans always do. Of your technology, asked Drelther. No, Jinha said, because of who we are. Throughout our history, humans have faced challenges that seemed impossible. We've stood on the edge of extinction many times, but we always find a way forward. Drelther's body moved in what the humans now recognized as deep thought. One ship, he said finally. You changed the course of history with just one ship. Quan corrected gently. Not with one ship, with one idea. With hope, with determination. With the belief that even against impossible odds, there is always a chance. As the Zellner Admiral departed, Harin stood with Jinha and Quan watching. The shuttle rise into Titan's hazy sky. Do you think they truly understand us now? She asked. Jinha smiled. They're beginning to. And that's enough for today. Quan nodded. One ship, one idea, one day at a time. That's the human way. Together they turned and walked back into the Peace Center, where the future was being built, one conversation at a time.